I would now like to request Mr. Tejas Pol, Director G&PS HSHS KPMG, to kindly join us on the stage for a presentation. He will be telling us about Urban Challenge Fund. Let us please welcome him with a big round of applause.
So there was supposed to be a like a round of applause, right? So can I please hear that again? Now this is a very good afternoon, and first of all, thanks for keeping my session not right after lunch, so that my challenge is a bit softened. And where is Yogesh? How much time do I have? 4 hours, na? 4 hours. No? Okay, there is a lot to tell. Okay, so I'll try and share with you the key points on what lies ahead, right, on Urban Challenge Fund. So my name is Tejas Pol. I'm a civil engineer. I work as a director with KPMG in India, and I'm part of the practice that advises government and international development clients. That is why the G&PS, the Government and Public Services acronym in my introduction. And the team that I'm part of looks after implementation support of various government schemes, right? And that includes from water, wastewater, all urban infrastructure services, and also most of the services and projects that governments take care of. Now, till now, if we see the landscape of development, especially in urban infrastructure, it has been dominated by grants that come from the central government in the form of Amrut, Jal Jeevan Mission, that's for rural though. And that has been the case since the days of JNNURM, when the central government started giving grants for specific infrastructure projects. Now we are at a stage where Urban Challenge Fund is launched, and what that essentially means is that cities and urban local bodies are expected to raise their own funds from the market sources. So what that means is, till now, for example, if the central government was giving almost all, if not all of the project cost as a grant, now the cities are expected to get at least 50% of the funding from market sources. And by market sources, we mean loans or private investments in the form of PPPs. So what that means is, till now, close to zero or none of the money or the funding that was needed for the projects was repayable. Now this is a key word, repayable financing, which is now going to be the case that cities are going to have to look for ways in which the financing can be repaid to the sources of finance. So that is one critical aspect of when we call it as a paradigm shift from the grant-based to market financing-based infrastructure. So the way this has been formalized is that the Urban Challenge Fund says that 25% of the support will come from central assistance, that's the central government. 50% has to come from market sources, which is loans, bonds, and public-private partnerships. And 25% will have to come from the ULBs or the city's own sources of financing, of course complemented by the state government. Now what that means is, the contours of Urban Challenge Fund will involve, first is, the projects will need to be bankable. This is another key word that is related to repayment of finance. So for example, when we look at projects like water supply, till now those were grant based. Now ULBs and city governments are going to have to think about ways to make those bankable, in the sense financially sustainable. So what that means is, city governments will need to think about what are the tariff levels, how much is the recovery, where are the chances of increasing the collection efficiency, the billing efficiency, what other innovative ways are there to convince people to pay the fair price of water supply. Now, for example, we recently concluded a study on water supply in a northern hilly state, and in our willingness to pay survey, we found out that if people were convinced that the services were going to be better and more reliable, they were willing to pay as much as 52% more than they were paying at the moment. So 1.5 times, 1.5 गुना ज़्यादा लोग पैसा देने को तैयार थे if they were convinced that the services were going to be better and resilient in the face of adversity and problems. So that is what is meant by bankable projects. So you want to target that the projects will bring in some revenue and improve your financial position. The second part is, this is also another critical part, you are going to now access market financing. What that means is, we have all done this at home. For example, when you want to take a loan from a bank, you go to the bank assesses your credit worthiness. How well have you managed money before? Have you defaulted before? आजकल वो सिबिल स्कोर चेक करते हैं, मेरे को मैसेज आते रहते हैं, आपका सिबिल स्कोर चेंज हो गया, वहाँ जाके पता चला घट गया. So all those sorts of things will start happening at city government level also. So what that means is, when market finance sources need to be accessed, those come with their own set of requirements to comply with, in terms of history of credit, quality of revenues, reliability of revenues, earmarking of revenues. For example, if the loan repayment EMI is say 5-6 crores a year, the bank or the loan giving agency is going to need to see that money in an account earmarked separately for that repayment. So what I'm trying to say here is that the projects or the way city governments and ULBs will now operate and access market finance, those ways will come with this kind of requirements to comply with the loan covenants, as they are called. Third part that Urban Challenge Fund pushes for is private sector participation and also related reforms. So basically tariff, governance alignment, digital transformation, all these parts will need to be incorporated in the way city governments conceptualize and implement projects. So these are broadly the contours of Urban Challenge Fund. And like I said, half jokingly, that I wanted to have 4 hours with you, but please do reach out for detailed discussion on what each of these things means, and I'll be happy to explain further. Now, what follows on the screen are basically some of the implementation guidelines related to Urban Challenge Fund. This is just a summary of the detailed guidelines. You can always have a look at the guidelines themselves. But basically what we see here on the screen is that almost all cities, if not all the cities, are eligible to access the funding under Urban Challenge Fund, provided they get the 3 components of the financing part aligned. That is 25% own contribution, 50% from market finance, and 25% then will come from the central government. So, and of course, it's a fund. It's not just challenge. उसका नाम सिर्फ अर्बन चैलेंज नहीं है, उसका नाम अर्बन चैलेंज फंड है. सो व्हाट दैट फंड मीन्स इज बेसिकली देयर इज गोइंग टू बी द 25% सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट allocation of course, but there is going to be a lot of need for capacity building, hand holding and project preparation, because like we saw, the project preparation and implementation is going to be in a different manner from what it has been till now. So what that means is central government has carved out 3 components for it. First is the project fund itself, that is about 90,000 crore rupees over the challenge fund duration, from where the actual project implementation, when we say the 25% of the central government assistance, that assistance will come from about the 90,000 crore rupees. And the total is 1 lakh crore, so about 10,000 crores are remaining, out of which 5,000 crores are allocated for appointing capacity building and hand holding and project preparation support. So that's the second component. And third component is very interesting. For the smaller cities and northeastern states, 5,000 crores is allocated as a credit repayment guarantee sub-scheme. And by that what we mean is basically, when these small cities conceptualize projects up to 20 crore rupees, they take loans from market about 10 crore, right? Because 50% of 20 crores is 10 crores. Out of that, 70%, that is up to 7 crores, is earmarked from the central government as a protection against credit default. So what that means is, because so many of these smaller ULBs are going to take loans for the first time, it is possible that they may face hurdles, right? So to assure them, to increase their confidence, to encourage them, 5,000 crores is separately allocated, which will go towards a guarantee of safeguarding their the loans. And these are basically the overall structure or the way Urban Challenge Fund is envisaged to work. On one hand, basically the overall project flow will be through a mechanism of approval at local, state and central levels, which will ensure that there is project aggregation, there is some economy of scale achieved through the channels to get the loans, etc. And on the other hand, the project evaluation will depend on whether land is there or not. project readiness is there or not, how transformative the project proposal is, and so forth. Again, these are again details given in the guideline. Just wanted to make it slightly easy and brief for us all to look at. So this is the overall contours and implementation conditions of the fund. Now what will happen is, how the fund will get disbursed is also linked to the project progress. So when you show progress in terms of gaining approvals and alignment with your state government's mechanism, one tranche of the fund will get released. This is basically, you can see that it is based only on the approval status of the project. There is no physical progress involved. But when you come to the second tranche of 50% of the central assistance that is required, this is, by the way, 50% of the 25%, not the 50% of project cost. So 12.5% of project cost is going to get disbursed when at least 75% of the project physical progress being achieved. And then finally, more than 75% when it gets completed, the last tranche of the project fund gets released from the central government. So basically the point here is that the disbursement mechanism is geared or oriented towards implementing the projects and actually showing the on-ground progress. I think this is a very brief slide. I wish I had more time. How much time do I have left now? Just 1 minute, yeah. So basically the role of financial institutions is going to be very critical. So please start talking to banks. If you need assistance, please get expert help in understanding what the typical conditions of lending are, what requirements are there, what do applications look like, and so forth, because they are also going to be technical partners in the project that you conceptualize. I think that was it. Yogesh, thanks for showing me that sign. All right, I'll pause here. Do we have time for questions, or do I have to then go back and not without a round of applause? Are there any questions? Our professors used to say, everything is clear, no questions. Nothing is clear, no questions. I don't know which one it is. All right. But anyway, I'll be around. Please do reach out, and happy to speak to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Let us please give him a big round of applause. Thank you so much. May I request Shri Deepak Khambit, City Engineer, MBMC, to kindly join us on the stage to felicitate Mr. Tejas Pol. Thank you, sir.